To no one's surprise, I am late, but we are live for the Week 3 Wednesday show. Joining me today instead of Friday is Jason Gold. Jason, how's it going?
I could be better after that Week 2 performance.
Yeah.
It was the week where I decided I wanted to lay the lumber, and I might be the biggest fool of all. But we're ready for Week 3.
We're on to Week 3. Survivor-wise, for someone that didn't have one of the big dogs, it did feel good to have Houston because a lot of people got knocked out this week.
Yep, I'm still in one with Seattle and Houston Week 1 and 2. I feel pretty good about that, but here we go again.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And if you did get kicked out, which basically everyone did, I think in my original Survivor contest, there's about 36 people left and started with 136. So beyond more than half were kicked out this week. I made a second chance Survivor. We'll put that link in the description. I just sent it to Ryan, so it'll be in there if you are a loser and don't have anything left and you're part of the carnage. But let's talk about Thursday Night Football. New England go into the New York Jets, the Jets home opener. This line opened 7.5-point favorites at home. The Jets were sitting at 6.5. Thoughts on the spread?
I have already bet this twice. This was one of my first numbers working off my sheet from last week that I've been talking about. I have the Jets favored by 10.5 in this game, so it hit my 3-star threshold. So I bet this at 6.5. Then I was familiar with a release from a big pro side that released this at 6, so I doubled down. So officially, I'll give out Jets -6 in this game. I do think it's a really good spot for the Jets. I know the Patriots have played really well. Coming off of an overtime loss and then traveling on a short week is just a nasty spot, especially when you have a rookie head coach. So for that reason alone, I think that the Jets are the side. Now, are the Patriots frisky? Yeah, absolutely. Is this a divisional game? Absolutely. So it's tough to lay 6 points on a team that has not looked that great offensively yet. But spot-wise, this is all the Jets all day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, the Jets are going to be able to probably slow down Bruce. We've seen what they've done the last couple of weeks. But it might be good for the Jets. Did I say Jets? I meant Patriots. It might be good for the Patriots. I mean, oh my God, now I'm mixing everyone up. It might be good for the Jets, use your words, Smalls, in that it's going to make Aaron continue to open up the passing game and start doing that a little bit more. And you saw them getting a little bit more comfortable. So I think this is kind of a get-right spot for the Jets. Home opener, we know how that went last year. Did not go great. The total's sitting at 38.5. Have you taken either side on this?
I have not taken either side. I do think there's probably a case to be made that the over should be the play if we think that New England's going to regress a little bit defensively. And we've seen how the Jets have looked defensively. It's hit or miss given who the opponent is. And we've seen the Patriots, while they haven't put up a ton of points, they've been competent. They don't turn the ball over. So, I could see this over coming home. I've seen some 39s. I think this might tick up a little bit, but we've talked about this forever. Thursday nights, do I really want to be on overs? Like the offense could be a little sloppy in this game. So I have it as a stay away. My projection has it for 37 points. So yeah, I'm not really going to take a side there.
Yeah, I really don't like a lot of totals this week. I'll be completely honest. There was one that I found myself feeling pretty confident about, and then I was going to make you convince me about some others when we get a little bit more into Week 3 spreads and totals. Any player props that caught your eye here?
No, but I'm guessing that I'm probably going to end up on Garrett Wilson unders. You would think that they're going to pass the ball a lot in this game, but if he's on Christian Gonzalez, I could see Rodgers going around him and forcing the ball to Lazard or someone else in the offense. Maybe we get a lot of dump-off passes to Braylon Allen. Maybe he's involved again. I could see it being a big Brees game. But if the Patriots are going to take away what you want to do most, so do the Patriots think that what's going to do them in is Brees running the ball, or do we think it's Garrett Wilson getting fed targets? My guess is that they're going to try and take away Wilson and try to win the game on the ground because it'll be a shorter game, less variance. So if they're going to bracket Gonzalez on Wilson, I'm probably on the under there. In terms of receptions or yards, you can play it any way you want, but that's probably the play.
Yeah, I think I'm in Munaf. I see mentioning Breece Hall. His receiving yards over. Last week, he led the team in receptions with 7. I think if I'm touching Breece Hall, it's probably him in the receiving game. Surprisingly, looking at the numbers, I kind of like things on the Patriots side a little bit more. Stevenson, I mean, Jacoby can only do so much. They're going to continue to not really pass the ball. I think the rush attempts, I honestly jumped the gun. I bet this a little bit too early. I have Stevenson over 17.5 rush attempts. Thought I was going to get at plus 102. Thought I was going to get a good number there. Now it's at 16.5 at plus 110s. That I would definitely take that if you find that still available. I think I saw it on DraftKings. And then Joey Sly to go over 1.5 field goals made. And what was the last? Hunter Henry. I haven't decided which direction I want to go. Did you know he had 109 yards last week?
I did know this. I think he had 8 for 109, and he had a bunch of targets too. It was definitely double-digit targets. It'd probably be interesting to take his unders in this game. One more that I wanted to mention. We haven't seen anything out of Pop Douglas yet, and the coaches after the game were saying that he needs to be heavily involved in the game. He was a receiving leader last year. I've seen 2 props out there that I like on him. One is over half a reception in the first quarter. I think on the first drive, they're going to target him at least once or twice and get him involved. Over 3.5 receptions for the game. I think I saw that at plus 160, plus 170 range. I like that one too. I think that they're going to have to pepper him targets throughout the season.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I think Hunter Henry is going to be, everyone's going to go towards the receptions. And I think it's a trap because you're going to see the 4.5 plus 110 and want to go that direction because of what he did. If you're going to play him, I like the receiving yards a little bit better. I'm going to tail you on that one. And then the only thing else I was looking at, Rodgers to throw an interception plus 110. Going to be passing the ball here. They're not going to be running it as much. And then I like his longest completion to go over the 20.5 plus 105. Gone way over this both weeks. And they might struggle to establish something on the ground there. So take some shots downfield. Don't know which receiver I totally like there. So I'd rather just take Rodgers completion.
I like it.
Like it. All right, let's get in 2, 3, 2, 1. What's the first spread that you are looking at for week 3?
Yeah, it's kind of a gross slate, and the numbers are jumping around a bunch this week. It's all over the place. But first one I'm going to give you is going to be Pittsburgh -1 hosting the Chargers. You guys know that I love my Chargers. I love Justin Herbert, but he has an ankle injury here. And this is a step up in weight class for the Chargers offensively, going against the Steelers defense at home, back-to-back weeks on the road. Now, this number's come down. Pittsburgh was 2.5. Now it's at 1. It may come down even further, but I feel like we're getting value here based on the Herbert injury. He's probably not going to be able to move as much. The running game is not going to find the sort of success that it had against Carolina or the Raiders in this game, especially on the road. Pittsburgh, Chargers defense has been amazing, but we're also talking about the Raiders offense, and we saw what the Panthers offense is.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Pittsburgh has to go crazy in this game. Just keep doing what you're doing. Low scoring games, 35.5 is the total. I think Pittsburgh wins this game. My number has this at Pittsburgh -4.5 after taking in all the travel calculations here. I think it's a good spot for Pittsburgh. And if Harbaugh gets this done, watch out. They're gonna win like 12 games this year. But I think it's a good spot for Pitt.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Kind of stayed away from that game. We got backup hammers this week, though. 2 of them, 2 games. Is that we agreed on? We're going to call it. I don't know. We'll have to work on the name. It'll come to me.
We definitely do have 2 of them. It's interesting.
We have 2 of them.
I like both.
Skylar Thompson and the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton, are both starting this week. I'll get your thoughts on the Bryce Young benching in a second, but I like both of these. I'm taking Miami +4.5, and I'm taking Carolina +5.5. I think that we've seen this happen over and over again where the backup quarterbacks, it works every single time. So I'm not going to stray away from it. On top of, I think Miami can still get something going with Skylar Thompson. We've seen him do this too when he has played. He's played a couple games. And then Carolina feels like a sleepy spot for the Raiders. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but everyone's really excited about them. And I don't think we truly know that team's identity yet.
The Raiders one is interesting. So for context, I bet both of these games already. I bet Miami when it was +6 because I only had the downgrade from Tua to Skylar as 5 points. So I had value there. I made the number Seattle -4.5. So the 6 was a good bet there. And then Carolina, I bet +6.5. I had Dalton as a 2.5 point upgrade over Bryce Young. So that made my number 4 on the game for the Raiders. So
Uh-huh.
I bet them at plus 6.5. And I also bet the over 39.5 when Dalton was named the starter. I think that you're going to see a little bit more scoring in this game. Raiders offense proved it can be competent. Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams looked great last week. They took it to the Ravens. So I still like that number. I think it's 40.5 in the market right now. If I were going to give
Mhm.
out anything from those two games, it's over 40 right now. Okay. So I like the over 40 in Carolina, Las Vegas a bunch.
Okay. Interesting. What's the other spread that you're taking a look at?
Well, I want to talk about the Bryce Young situation, but we'll talk about it at the end.
Oh yeah,
So,
no, why don't you actually let's talk about it quick because I just did give that out. What thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
okay. So I understand the idea if you're just trying to win this game. Like Dalton's clearly a better quarterback than Bryce Young is at this point. But I want to get your take on this. Do you think that they should have started Bryce the rest of the year? Because to me, that makes the most sense in that either Bryce sucks and continues to suck, and you go 0-17, you get the number one pick, you get rid of him at the end of the year, and you get whatever new quarterback's going to be. Right now, you're in the dead zone. Like if Dalton's any
Yeah.
good, you go, 4-13, 5-12 this year. You end up with like the number
Yeah.
7 pick, and you can't get the quarterback you want. And best case, Bryce gets better, and you keep the guy. Right now, you're just in the dead zone. The only thing that I can think of is they are going to lose the locker room, and no one else is going to
Yeah.
try. If that's
100%.
the case, maybe I get it, but that's kind of where I'm at. But I want to hear where you're at.
So if anyone has watched a Carolina game, like he can't start. It's like at the point where I think you look at the head coach, first time head coach. I think you have to pull him. He looks ridiculous out there. Like, does he go back in at some point? I don't know. But again, I don't know what the game plan is. You guys are already shitty. You're going to be shitty with Andy Dalton. Are you going to win probably a couple more games? Yes. But you're also still a shitty team. Like it's not changing your where you're picking in the draft. So do you try to see what you can get out of Bryce Young? Are you trying to trade him away somewhere? Like what I don't get the idea of why it's happening so soon. Week 2 is aggressive. Well, I do have respect for that because I think some teams, they kind of drag it out too long. And if you know, if you've decided like, that's it, we're not going to keep doing this. You look like a clown out there. Fine. It's not good for his confidence. It's kind of better for both parties because I think Bryce looks ridiculous right now. Yeah, I don't know what the game plan is though. Like, what are we doing with Bryce Young then?
All right, barring injury to Dalton and Bryce being thrown out there, over or under half a game that Bryce Young ever starts for the Panthers again.
Over. I think he ends up starting at least one more game. What are they going to do? Trade him? Maybe Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton can't play that many games. That's why it doesn't make sense to do it this early.
I have to believe that if you're making this decision, you believe Andy Dalton's the starting quarterback for the rest of the year, and you've already made the decision to move on from Bryce Young. Because
Fucking
ripping off
Joe
that
Flacco has everyone delusional. Is what's going on.
Yeah, I know, but this isn't just ripping off a Band-Aid. This is like a sledgehammer to the head of the organization.
Yeah.
So I feel like you have to be all bought in that you're out on Bryce Young, you're trading him or getting rid of him at the end of the year somehow, and you're going to go find another starting quarterback.
You know what the issue is? They're just a really poorly ran.
They're the Panthers. Yeah,
so it's like
they're
the Panthers.
Panthers.
So no, I have no fucking idea what they're gonna do. They might put Bryce back in, pull him again. Like I could see this just being. I don't think this is helping the chaos. Maybe it's to keep the locker room in check because I think everyone's probably getting very pissed off that is over there. But I don't know. It's a weird move in my opinion. I would have waited at least. I mean, give it till week fucking 4. Like, what are we doing?
It is definitely aggressive, but it's a good spot for Andy Dalton to start. Good spot for them to come back and play well against the Raiders team. But yeah, that's a dicey situation. That was one of the more shocking tweets I've seen recently.
It's honestly way too early in the season to be getting breaking news like that. Like, what is going
Yes.
on? It's way too early. What's the other spread that you're looking at this week?
All right, let's go down the board a little bit. How aggressive do we want to be?
We could be
Screw
aggressive.
it. All right, we're gonna do it. Dallas +1 hosting Baltimore.
Okay.
I hate it because there's no way that Baltimore should be going 0-3. And Dallas's linebackers and defense stinks. We saw what Alvin Kamara did last week, running the ball all over the place. But damn, I hate Baltimore's defense right now. They are awful. And I think that it's going to keep coming. And Dallas, at least I know what I'm going to get offensively. They're going to keep going. They're at home. Like I said last week, I know it didn't come home, but they're 16-1 in their last 17 home games. They're a really good home team and a really good regular season team.
Yeah.
And Baltimore just doesn't look like a team that has it figured out at all. So I like getting the value on Dallas at home. I make this number Dallas -4.5.
Really?
Yeah, after everything's done. Like my pre-number on it is, before I go through all the other stuff, I have Dallas -1 should be the real spread if you don't take into account all the other stuff. But it's a bad travel situation for them. It's a good bounce back spot for Dallas. I think there's a lot of good things trending for Dallas to have success in this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to touch that game. I think that Baltimore O-line, though, there's some serious things going on there that need to be attended to, and I don't know what they can do to fix it. The defense does not look like you would expect out of the Ravens defense. I think Dallas, too, off of getting their absolute ass beaten, they're kind of known to just come back. So I would also lean Dallas here. For my next one, I'm taking the Titans -2. I know it's gross. I know Tennessee is 0-2. Josh Jacobs had 32 rush attempts for 151 yards. That is not sustainable. You're not going to be able to do that against this Tennessee defense. I think look at this. What are they? 10th fewest opposing rushing yard. Like, you name it, their defense is just good. You can find whatever stat you want. I know that Green Bay won last week. I know it's a Malik revenge. I heard everyone. But I'm on Tennessee. I think Tennessee does win this.
So Tennessee was taking a ton of money early on. And this line had gotten up to 3. The total was down from 39.5 to 36.5. But it's the Jordan Love news. So where do you think that Jordan Love fits in this whole thing? Because he practiced today for the first time.
Did he?
Do you think there's any chance he plays?
It feels aggressive to play him week 3 against like a not good, very good team. They're a good team, they're a fine team, not good. But doesn't it feel aggressive to rush it?
Yeah. So Jordan Love said afterwards that he thought that he's going to give it to the rest of the week till Friday to see how he feels, but there's a chance that he plays this week. And he said if he does feel good at the end of the week, he wants to play. My thought is you got to sit him one more week and then you play him next week if he continues to progress.
Right.
So that's my feeling. But the number did jump everywhere. So it went from 3 to 2 across the board. Now it's a 2. And this total ticked up from 36.5 to now 38.5. So the market clearly believes that Jordan Love has a legitimate chance to play in this game. So with that being said, I have to change my numbers on here. If it's Malik Willis, I have Tennessee -3.5. So I agree with you that Tennessee is probably the right side if it's Malik Willis.
Yeah.
But given the uncertainty and given the low scoring probability of this game, I actually really like Green Bay as a teaser piece, 2 to 8 or 2.5 to 8.5. Because even if that's Willis, I still think this is going to be a tight game.
Yeah. I think the way I'm going to end up playing this, if Willis does play, I'm going to bet him to have an interception, -105. I think they're going to force him to throw the ball. That's the way that you try to get Green Bay to beat you. You're going to be able to stop the run. And I think I'll look to whatever Pollard's numbers are because Green Bay is allowing a shitload of rushing yards right now. So I think that's how I'm going to play this other than the spread for now. Jordan Love throws a wrench in it, though, because didn't they say he could have played last week, too? Like, fuck.
Yeah, I still think that injury, given how long we have in the season, and given the fact that the worst that's going to happen is you're going to be 1-2 when he comes back.
Yeah.
Take the extra week just to make sure he's 100% right. I think that's how they play this. I just don't know how much cachet Jordan Love has to say, fuck you guys. I'm playing. Like, you just gave me $250 million. I call the shots on when I play and when I don't, if I'm medically cleared to do so. It seems like he's going to be medically cleared. This is going to be a coach's decision and a front office decision. So I don't know.
And then also, like, you're coming off a win with a backup. Like, if you take an L here, it's not like the end of the world. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely not start him this week, no matter how good he feels. Give him the whole next week. What does it matter?
Yeah, a little bit aggressive.
A little aggressive. Last spread that you're looking at.
All right, let's go and see what I've bet thus far that we haven't talked about yet. You already got some of them that I already played, so let's talk about a game that I have not talked about yet. Let's go to. All right, this line has come down a little bit, but I think it's a good spot for them. Jacksonville +5 at Buffalo on Monday night. My numbers actually favor Buffalo in the situation as Buffalo -7, but I think the spot is perfect for Jacksonville. This number's come down from 6.5 to 5. Buffalo, look, they looked really good against Miami offensively. They also always have Miami's number. They beat the crap out of Miami. What are they, 13-1 in their last 14 games?
Crazy,
Who goes down in that game? The Dolphins completely quit. Buffalo's defense looked good. This is also the same Buffalo team that got their ass whipped defensively by Arizona. I think that Jacksonville is going to find some sort of rhythm. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game on Monday night. I think the Buffalo wins, but I think it's tight. Something like 23-20 sounds right to me. But Buffalo giving 5 just seems like way too much right now.
Yeah, this is one of the stay away games. I took a look at the total for this, but I completely stayed away from this game. I don't know what the hell Jacksonville is my issue.
Totally get that. They looked completely out of sync last week against Cleveland. They get an extra day here. I think it's a good spot. So I got to go with the Jags. It's mostly a play on Buffalo's defense not being as good as they seemed against Miami, giving all the weird situations that happened in Miami and kind of regressing to that defense we saw versus Arizona.
Yeah, okay. My next one here, I'm not being a hater because I have bet this team a couple different ways. I bet their coach to be coach of the year. I just sprinkled on them to win the NFC North. So I am promising you I'm not salty about week 1. But Houston -1.5 going to Minnesota. One, I think this is probably my favorite game to watch this week. Talk about two teams that are good at stopping the run. They're going to be passing the ball the way that everyone is complaining a lot of teams are not doing. Both 2-0. I just don't listen. I know Houston played Indy and Chicago. Houston -1.5. That's really what this is at right now.
Yeah, it's a weird number. It's kind of bounced all over the place. So the look ahead on Houston was -4.5.
Yeah.
It came out at 2, got down to 1.5. Then a pro group came in. It was 2.5. Now it looks like we're at around 1.5 or 2, depending on where you're looking. The pros definitely came in on Minnesota, but there were a couple big bets on Houston. So that's kind of how we got to the number that we're at right now. Minnesota's defense, we saw what they did to the 49ers. Like, they are the most exotic blitzing team. They come from everywhere. Brock Purdy said afterwards that he was all confused. He was seeing ghosts out there because of what happened with Flores' defense. But unfortunately for Minnesota, they had to put all of that on tape to get the win versus 49ers. So now you're giving all of that over to CJ Stroud, who's going to be able to diagnose it. It's kind of a bad spot that way. But Houston, that was a war against the Bears. There were bodies flying everywhere in that game.
It's a primetime game. It's not that.
That's a quick turnaround, though, to have that sort of game and then to travel and go to Minnesota that's going to throw all this weird stuff at you. It's weird. This is a complete stay away for me. I have Minnesota -0.5, but basically there's no value in that because you're going through numbers. So I have no read on this game. I've made no bet. My question for this game is, can Minnesota's offensive line hold up against what looked like a really dominant Houston D? And how real is that Houston D, given that they gave up 27 to the Colts the week before, but they beat the crap out of the Bears last week? I want to see what that looks like. I don't know. I'm really not sold. I could be sold in either direction on this game.
Have you heard how US Bank was apparently 85 degrees and humid? They maybe messed with the temperature a little bit in there.
I did not hear that.
This is the rumblings that apparently very humid in there, 80 plus degrees, and 49ers were absolutely gassed during it as well. So, and this isn't just me saying it, Paul Allen, WFAN, this is something that has been reported across the board. So did they mess around with that? I don't know. And not that I think that that's why, because they owned them. Minnesota looked like the better team for the not owned. Owned is a little bit dramatic, but I think that this is what I'll leave it on. If you believe in Minnesota and you believe in what they're doing and you think Sam Darnold can keep this up, then you better go bet them and go look at their futures, because if they win this game, this is going to be like, you are not going to find these odds next week.
Totally agree with you. 3-0, they're looking pretty nice.
And after this, they get, they have a little bit of a tougher stretch. And then after that, it's a joke. Their schedule is an actual cakewalk. So I think that now would be the time if you do think that they can keep it up. They get Hawk back. Like, there's some pieces to really like here.
So you like Houston this game? That's where you're leaning.
I like Houston this game. I think I still kind of am starting to get in on Minnesota. Like, if Darnold can play at this level, Minnesota looks really good considering the way the rest of the NFC looks.
I like it. I think it's a good spot. I like Minnesota.
What totals are you looking at? Like I said, don't really like them. I took Chargers Pitt under 37. I think it's 35.5 some places now. So probably a little bit of a stay away. Yeah. A lot of running the ball. But other than that, didn't really like anything.
All right. I'll give out all the numbers that I bet so far.
Okay.
Arizona over 51. That game's going to get out of control crazy. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to actually be at Circa this weekend, so I'm hoping that there's a lot of points in that game. It's going to be great. Looking forward to that. Carolina over 39.5. I told you guys I'd still bet that at over 40. I'd probably take that one up to 41. I think that Dalton makes a huge difference there. I don't like either defense that much. Should be a lot of scoring. Green Bay over 37. That was because Jordan Love remembered to come back. I'd still bet that probably to 38.5. I wouldn't, but it's interesting given if he plays. So the number that's actually out there in the market that I'll talk about right now is Chicago over 43.5 against Indianapolis. Indianapolis, their defense is basic and terrible, and there's no DeForest Buckner. So I think that Chicago's finally going to see some real offensive success in this game. It should be a bounce back spot for Caleb Williams. Moreover, it looks like they're going to get Keenan Allen back, so that's only good news. On the other side of the ball, I think that the Colts are going to go back to their running game, and they're going to find a lot of success in that. And if the running game is working well and JT's going for the Colts, one, they're going to put up points. But two, it opens up everything the play action game for Anthony Richardson to be successful down the field, intermediate, and to actually complete more than 50% of his passes. So I think there's a really good spot to hit an over here on Chicago and Indianapolis at 43.5. I feel terrible that I've only bet 4 overs this week because there's a lot more unders coming into the board. But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
How much do people start like truly shitting their pants if Caleb has another bad game? Like, things are going to start to get crazy a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think that everybody's overreacting. I mean, he got the shit beaten out of him in that game against the Houston Texans. And week one's week one. Like, I think, like, Daniels has looked better. That's fine to say. Bo Nix has not. So, has Caleb been as bad as Bryce Young was last year? No. Like, he looks like a confident quarterback. He's confident staying in the pocket. He's trying to make throws. So I have no cause for concern really with Caleb at this point. It's going to take a while though. The NFL it's a different beast than the Pac-12.
Yeah, definitely. And there was at one point in the game where he got sacked and he kind of just laid on the ground. He wasn't hurt. He just laid on the ground and like shut his eyes and took a deep breath. Yeah. And you saw him like exhale. And it's like, yeah, welcome to the NFL, dude. Like, you're not playing these teams in the Pac-12 anymore. So, it's also Chicago, and you've seen what they've done with quarterbacks. We'll see how it goes. Are you taking any team on the money line?
Any big dogs that I'm going to like this week? Dallas I'll take on the money line. Why not? I think there's probably a case to be made for, like, I could see wanting to play the Eagles on the money line against the Saints. Like, the Saints are getting way too much action in the market. It was a 6-point change. I know. And Kubiak's doing a great job. I've bet against them both weeks, so I don't want to do it. But look, the Eagles and Saints, like, that was a 6-point downgrade. The Eagles lost in the last second. Yes, they were idiots at the end. But, like, the Eagles are still a really good team. The Saints, we still really don't know, despite the fact that they've kicked ass the first 2 weeks. I think that the Eagles' money line is probably worth a sprinkle there. There's a weird case to be made for Denver winning outright in Tampa Bay, giving Tampa Bay's injuries defensively. No Vita Vea. Their secondary is awful. They're way overvalued in the market right now. Like Denver plus 6.5, plus 7 are good numbers. It's just you got to trust that Denver's going to be able to show something in this game that they haven't yet. So it's a little bit of a leap of faith, but that's a game that could get home. Carolina winning is possible. Like I wouldn't completely write that one off at all. Arizona winning at home against the Lions is possible. Like there's a lot of them that are possible this week, and a lot of sides that the sharps definitely like. Like people love Atlanta this week against Kansas City. I don't really see that one. They were good for a minute and 27 seconds in that game, but who knows?
You mentioned the Bucks, and we'll just jump into Survivor quick before we start wrapping up. Bucks are a very, very popular Survivor pick this week.
That means fade it. That means fade it.
It does mean fade it, and I took them week 1, so I don't even have to worry about it. It doesn't matter to me. I hope you guys all pick them, and I hope that they end up losing. What direction are you going as far as Survivor?
Yeah, I mean, if you saved them, I think and didn't get knocked out week 1, I think the Bengals are probably a really strong pick to get their first win. They look good against Kansas City. They got a little bit of the mojo back. I know the defense isn't spectacular, and there's a lot of holes on that defensive line. But Anarumo is going to get them in a good spot. Like they did a really good job against Kansas City last week defensively. Joe looked good. The arm looked healthy. Their running game picked up a little bit. You might get T. Higgins back this week. So I think Cincinnati's probably the best play on the board. And you're kind of out of that week 1 and 2 where the Bengals always suck. So that would be my pick number 1 this week. If you want to be aggressive, the Jets probably aren't a bad play. At least they have everybody healthy. So there's that.
Yeah, I think I'm going, Kaya apparently agrees. I'm going Bengals this week. I think what I'm noticing, and again, not being a hater, is everyone just loves Jaden Daniels, which I think you should. Like, I think Jaden Daniels has been the more impressive rookie quarterback that we've seen, but their secondary is so bad and their offensive line is so bad. I think that this is Jamar Chase week. I see a lot of fantasy football touts telling you to trade Jamar Chase. So this is the week. You don't trade him this week. You trade him next week after he goes 152 and I don't even know why that's something that's being, the rumblings are there. Do the Commanders back to recover? Fine. You guys can have that one. I think the Bengals win this game.
Yeah, I think the Bengals this is a prime spot for them. There's a case to be made for someone like the 49ers are 7.5 points. Although they're on the road against divisional, so it breaks 2 of my rules. But like the Rams have nobody. Maybe this is a Prayer McVay special dial-up game, but that's a good spot. But yeah, I think that the Bengals are clear, then the Jets would probably be secondary for me.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, because I think Sandy asked about the Giants-Browns game. What is that spread at right now? Even 6. Thoughts? I feel like people are trying to force the Giants here, and I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me because my numbers really like Cleveland in this spot. But like the Browns' offensive line situation, if their offensive line is back, if Wills is back and if Conklin's back, that's a really tough matchup for the Giants, thinking that anything defensively that they can do will get home against that great offensive line.
Yeah.
So that's kind of tough. The market really hasn't moved. There's a little action on the Giants. They moved from 6.5 to 6. I don't know that the Giants' offensive line can do anything against that defensive line. Defensive line looked really good last week for the Browns against the Jaguars. So it's a really dicey spot for the Giants' offensive line. If they can't do the offensive line, if they can't hold up at all, what are you getting out of Neighbors? What are you getting out of DJ? I mean, if DJ's under pressure, we know how that goes. So really, really dicey. The good news for the Giants is if you're 0-2 against the spread, 61% against the spread in week 3. So good spot that way. But my slightly would be towards the Browns if the Browns' offensive line is healthy.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Any final thoughts about week 3 before we get out of here?
Rashee Rice over 70.5 receiving yards. I think that's a monster. I think he might have 100 plus in this game against Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And like I said, Jamar Chase, literally, I don't care. Find the highest alt that you can find, and that is probably what I am betting this week. We'll talk more player props on Friday. Be sure to join the Second Chance Survivor if you're already a loser going into week 3. We'll put that link in the description. And Jason, we'll talk to you next week. See you guys.
All right. Thanks, Smalls. Good luck.
See ya.
Watch him make it, break it, break it, break it.